This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning, and we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 9th of September 2019, and I am DM.
I am Tuum.
And I am GK, and in case you missed the headlines, here they are. In the Daily Nation, Mugabe rules out 2022 poll packed with RUTO.
Yeah.
In the Star, RUTO-Raila battle lines drawn in Kibra poll. And in the Standard, rogue staff disabled CCTV in 72 million shilling heist.
Wow.
I think let's start with
The Nation.
RUTO.
Yes.
On his trip to Sabatia over the weekend.
Yes.
So he flirted with Mugabe.
He flirted with Mugabe and he said that he can be a running mate.
But Mugabe has rejected his advances.
Yes. And I think Ruto was being mischievous. Alikuwa mchokozi.
Why do you say that?
And he knows very well the Kalenjin voting bloc is about 2.3 million votes. The Luya voting bloc is probably 2.6, cannot even get to 5 million votes. For you to get a 50% plus one on a current registered voters list, you probably need about 7 million.
Well, Mugabe said no anyway.
Yes, and
So
he said no. But I also want to say another thing.
Say it.
William Ruto does not realize that the BBI could actually benefit him in future.
How so?
You see, there are too many communities to appease, the Kikuyus and the Luyas. Now, you cannot have all of them right now in the current constellation. And therefore, if he wants to accommodate all these people, you need an expanded executive.
So what you're saying is,
Yeah.
BBI will actually take away the headache
Yes.
of selecting a running mate. Because
yes.
now he is damned if he does,
Absolutely.
damned if he does not.
If he doesn't. And look, if the theatre of war shifts from the people to parliament, then he can have numbers in parliament. That way you can still be able to order government business.
Wow. So what do we think about the headline
Well,
itself?
and before we get there, we have a three-part criteria that we use to break down the headlines. We ask ourselves whether it is speculative or topical,
Yes.
whether it is repetitive or groundbreaking,
Yeah.
and whether it is thoughtful or just plain lazy.
Lazy.
I think it's thoughtful. I think it's topical.
And pretty topical. And what I liked about it is it really made me think. You
Yeah.
know, should Mugabe rule out? Has he learnt his lessons from previous
Yes.
promises?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot going on there. I quite
So
like
you would
it.
buy it to...
I would buy it just
to
for
find out
intrigue.
more.
So
Okay,
keep it.
parking bay.
Yes. So in the Star,
Yeah.
RUTO-Raila battle lines drawn in Kibra poll.
Yes.
And here I think it's because ODM has picked its candidate.
Yes.
It is
Imran Okoth.
Yes. So
Yes.
Okoth's brother.
Okoth's brother.
Yes, who was previously running
a
his.
CDF office.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is PA.
So at least he knows what he's doing at the very least.
Absolutely.
Mm.
I think we know these battle lines have been drawn. I don't think.
But you had told us the invisible hand in this thing was Uhuru. So I thought the headline today would be Uhuru,
Yeah.
Raila,
Two
battle
M's.
lines. Guess not.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the headline itself, I don't think it's inspiring.
Yeah.
And it's really,
Toss it.
they're telling us.
So yeah.
Now, guys, I have never seen a damn group of thieves like these ones.
So this is the Standard story.
Yeah.
After 72 million shillings was stolen from none other than
Yeah. Who?
G4S.
I don't know why G4S is still in business, to be
business?
honest,
Yeah.
because every heist worth mentioning,
Yeah.
they're starring in it.
Yeah, somehow connected.
They're somehow connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as you were saying,
Yeah.
this was actually a very successful heist.
Yes.
They made away with 72 million.
Yes, but for 3
But
days.
because of foolishness,
Yes. Yeah.
they were all caught out.
They went home.
They went home. They went
Yeah.
to their rural homes. The
Yeah.
police just had to look at their
Yeah.
ID
Yeah.
copies and say this person is from Vihiga,
Yeah.
and they went and found them in their mother's house
With new clothes and
with new
and
clothes
and
and
new Subarus.
Yes, and then they started spending lavishly.
We urge you to watch more TV. Watch
Yeah.
The Money Heist on Netflix.
Absolutely.
Watch something.
Yeah, or maybe they should leave this job to the Kamaus and so.
So the headline itself
We're tossing it.
looks like we have a winner.
Yes. On to our next segment, where we analyze the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Here we ask ourselves whether the cartoon is humorous or sarcastic.
Yeah.
Whether it is, I've even forgotten. What is
Whether
our
it is
criteria?
dry or humorous,
Yeah.
whether it is sarcastic or
plain lazy. Yeah.
thoughtful or effective.
You guys will tell us in the comments.
Yeah, let's go to Mao.
So we have Iga,
Yes.
who's drawn for us the
An apocalyptic Mao.
Yeah.
All the trees have been cut down, sorry.
Yeah.
And it says Mao settlers.
Yeah.
And the axe says eviction.
Yeah, I think what Iga is trying to tell us is what is the point of evictions if at all the forest is no longer a forest?
Is that it?
I don't know.
I don't know what he's trying to say, but I didn't like it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, neither did
we're
I.
tossing. In the Standard, I think in the Standard and the Star will do together because they both had Mugabe.
Yeah, and very similar messaging. They're actually just looking at the duality of Mugabe's existence and whether he'll be remembered as a hero or as a villain.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know,
So you want to describe Gados?
I want to describe Gados. It's a drawing of graves. It's a graveyard.
Yes.
And there are two tombstones. First tombstone is Robert Mugabe, liberator. Second one, Robert Mugabe, tyrant.
Kado got the year of his birth wrong.
Yeah, he put 1914
instead of 1924.
Absolutely. You see, there's this thing the West has been telling us, and I saw it with P.S. Morgan over the weekend. They're saying, oh, Robert Mugabe was bad for his people because he cleaned out his economy. Robert Mugabe did not mess up Zimbabwe's economy.
And also, a lot of what the Western media don't tell you is the role that the World Bank and IMF had in a lot of the adjustment programs.
Yes.
Absolutely.
A lot of, they would advise Mugabe to subsidize the cash crop and not the food crop, or vice versa.
Yes.
I mean, so it had a lot of, their policies had a huge effect on
and his ostracization.
Exactly. And sanctions. When you take out an entire country from the global financial system, definitely is going to collapse.
Yeah.
You know, the other group of people that should feel very bad about themselves and guilty are the African leaders that were at the helm during Mugabe's time.
Absolutely.
Because if they had banded with him, then he would not have been bullied
and isolated
and ostracized
Absolutely.
and put into this corner.
Absolutely.
I like Ozon's. He's depicted Mugabe half angel, half devil. And I think that's just a testament to the debate that we've been seeing.
Right.
Some are hailing him as a liberator and others as a tyrant.
And the quote is quite apt as well.
The quote says, you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain.
How true. This is reminiscent of Sankara. Do you think if Thomas Sankara lived to 95, would he be considered a villain in his later days?
Exactly.
Yes, I mean, you're right.
Oh, that's just how it works.
Yeah,
right.
you never know. Yeah, he died at just the time when he was promoting feminism, industry. You know, he was pro Pan-African. So people are going to remember him at just that moment.
So his cartoon would be one grave, one
angel
liberator.
But there's one person who may not end up being a villain, and they've ruled a kingdom for a long time. That is the Queen of England.
Anyway,
different rules apply to different people.
And with regard to Mugabe, I mean, you don't rule a country on choosing your own circumstances. You know, there were global things that were happening. There was the West influencing a lot of what was going on.
Absolutely.
So, will we still say rest in peace, Bob?
Yes, go well.
Yes,
go well.
Still leader. I think of the cartoons, I think I like Ozone.
I'll go for Ozone as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good quote captures it.
Absolutely.
Quite aptly. So we have a winning cartoon from the start.
Absolutely.
So what is our final thought?
And now our final thought, inspired by a personal favorite.
Okay.
And it's entitled The Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein. And the caption there is The Rise of Disaster Capitalism.
Sounds interesting.
Yes. Why did they call it the Shock Doctrine, Daisy?
She actually called it the shock doctrine to show the similarities between electric shock therapy, which was used in the 1950s. It was actually a CIA-sponsored procedure.
To torture people?
Well, the genesis of it was this doctor called Ewan Cameron.
Yes.
So he performed these experiments on people who were already psychologically disturbed.
Okay, yes.
And the logic was make them a clean slate by electrocuting them. So passing an electric current through them.
Wow.
So he'd electrocute them and then they would regress to a childlike state.
And then build them
And so
up.
he had this blank slate and then from there on he creates a new person without
Okay.
But then he failed because of course that didn't happen.
Absolutely.
Yes, they regressed, they became blank slates, but he couldn't recreate new people.
Absolutely.
He didn't have those godlike qualities.
Yes.
So instead of stopping or maybe changing his technique, he just intensified it. So he put more electric shock. He started like isolating them. and then or doing sensory deprivation or even sensory overload, like putting them in front of strobe lights and loud music. So he'd really it was torture by other means. So what would happen with these people is that they become very impressionable and very cooperative. So what did the CIA see? This is a chance to now use it not on patients but on prisoners in order to extract information from them. So this is where she got the shock doctrine title. But then she applies it to economics. So she uses this metaphor to show how governments, particularly Western governments, uses crises to undo trade regulations or other protective measures in order to exploit poor countries.
Wow.
And these crises are either natural disasters or those that they have generated themselves.
And sometimes not necessarily poor countries. You can argue Trump is on a daily basis creating crises
everywhere with Chinese.
That's an interesting point.
That is true. So yes, so basically the book is about shocking people out of their old way of thinking and into particularly free market reform. So this was the genesis of it. And from reading this book, it spurred a few thoughts. The West particularly always uses an idea in order to propagate another idea. So in this case, the idea was free markets. So they were preaching the gospel of free markets to South Americans, to Africans.
The neoliberal approach.
Absolutely. What it reminded me of also is colonialism. There, the idea was the actual gospel. In order to do economic shock.
Absolutely. And Jomo speaks about it, and he had a quote. They came with their Bibles and they told us to pray. And
then we closed our eyes.
We closed our eyes, and by the time the prayer was done, we had the Bible, they had our land.
And I think Milton Friedman, who she talks about quite extensively in this book, through his policies, his economic policies, how he would go into countries. So I think the one she really focuses on is
Chile.
General Pinochet of Chile, how the CIA backs this coup, he takes over. And then Friedman and the Chicago School of Economists take over, and they put in this limited government spending,
tax cuts,
and basically they're very pro
markets
and less government interference.
Absolutely.
And he says, Milton Friedman, only a crisis, actual or perceived, produces real change. So Naomi Klein sort of posits the fact that these people are either creating these changes or they're exploiting these natural disasters.
Absolutely. And so the question is, what we always ask here at the Fifth Estate is cui bono,
who benefits? Absolutely.
So those reforms would bring about things like, for instance, privatization of public enterprise. And the classic example, I think the most well-known example in this book, is the 2003 invasion of Iraq. Because thereafter, the restructuring of Iraq, the privatization of the oil industry really benefited American corporations.
Absolutely. And the privatization of security in that sense, where Halliburton and Blackwater is sort of, they outsource the war on terror to these private limited companies who then make billions of dollars. The other thing is that September 11th, which precipitated a lot of these invasions and whatnot, gave America sort of the green light to have their armed and military forces all over the world. And they exploited our fear in that case.
Absolutely.
Right?
So that's another idea.
So in the same case, and in the same case, Westgate, I mean, right now, you can, if you walk into a mall, you don't question that a watchman can go through your bag, your car. I mean, this was, in other countries, it's unheard of. It doesn't happen. But they exploit our fear in Kenya. To say, you know what, we don't want another Westgate. We don't want another Dusit. So they must strip search you almost every day.
Absolutely.
But the other thing that she explains in this book is something she calls the gun to caviar index. This index was one that tracked the sale of fighter jets and executive private jets, so luxury jets. So before 2003, when fighter jets were being bought, there was a lot more being bought. There was less executive jets being bought. Come 20 or so years later, the more private jets that are being bought,
Yeah.
also the more fighter jets that are being bought. And
Yeah.
so she makes the case that the more conflict
Yes.
and armed struggles that are going on in the world,
Yeah.
there's also an equal war economy that's growing.
Absolutely.
And that's also growing the luxury economy.
Yes.
Yes.
So war is money.
Who is money?
And the partakers of luxury are the owners of these military jets as well.
Exactly.
Fighter jets, rather.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I love that she takes it a step further.
Yeah.
She says that we've moved even from just physical weaponry.
Yes.
Data mining is now the big thing.
Weapon.
Human
Yes.
intel. You know, people are really making money from these disasters and
yes.
this fear economy.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, he tells a story of New Orleans. That's the
New Orleans.
New Orleans. And
Somewhere in America.
Somewhere in America.
Where Hurricane Katrina happened.
Yes. So Katrina happens, and the place is a disaster.
Yeah.
Schools, everything spoiled, homes destroyed completely. And Milton Friedman goes ahead to write an article in the New York Times. And he says, we should take advantage of Hurricane Katrina to change, radically reform our public education system.
Yeah.
And you know what happens? They form something called charter schools in this New Orleans
So like
place.
private sector schools.
Yes. So because the number of schools that had been destroyed could not really have been rebuilt.
Yeah.
It was too expensive to build them.
Yeah.
They said, we will give you a voucher so that you take to this private school. It's a subsidy, and people who will not be able to afford private education will now be able to afford it.
Yes.
All right. Now, because public schools ceased to exist, everybody moved to these private schools, which were actually called charter schools, but they had a voucher. Now, endgame is this: because most of the public schools were occupied by people who look like us, African Americans. They were seen to be schools probably for dummies because they didn't perform as good. But
and Milton Friedman still had his liberal agenda at that point.
Yes, and he said the work of government is not to interfere with markets. The work of government is to take care of us at night and to enable a conducive market of doing business.
So law protection and enforcement of contracts.
Absolutely, enforcement of contracts to protect free markets. Now, endgame is this: actually, the education system in poorer areas, because of this move from public school to charter schools, kids perform better.
Okay.
All right, kids were not E students. They literally were able to move brackets from low performers, and they actually discovered something. The number of days in charter schools given to a child were actually more. So your potential to perform better in school was heightened.
So what you're saying is that this shock doctrine was good?
I think it was good.
So so you're saying in this case it was good, but Naomi Klein actually makes the case against them. So she says that the money that could have gone to poorer victims and to actually building a better system of education,
absolutely,
she says was diverted into this neoliberal system of private.
And remember also the private schools are money makers, because I think what she's really saying in this book is that there is no accident, and absolutely everything favors people who are already millionaires and billionaires.
Yes, absolutely. And there's also one thing he said, that there's something about a market. A market equalizes everybody. When you're going to do public spending on schools, what you're doing is saying these ones are poor. There's a framework for poor people. These ones are good because they can afford it. Then what you're actually instituting when you're having a public school system is a system of racism, all right? But what the market does, because it now puts an equal footing on the black child and the white child to perform at a level playing field.
So my question to you is, for instance, Kenya education government spends quite a large
on over 300 billion shillings.
You would be advocating for the other system?
No, I would actually do that on health myself. I would rather.
You would shock the health system.
Yes, I would rather the Aga Khan's Nairobis go and buy Kenyatta Hospital.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, another thought-provoking section for me in this book is when she talks about South Africa, and she says that during the struggle, ANC, read Mandela. They were too preoccupied with what was going on there, staving off civil war, that they didn't realize the importance of economic policies. You see, so they were like the impressionable people that have been shocked. And so IMF and World Bank took that opportunity to institute economic policies that actually ended up being very unfavorable for South Africa, like the privatization and spending cutbacks and labor flexibility.
Absolutely.
And of course, I was looking at this through the lens of xenophobia today.
Yes, exactly. What role it has had now.
They're still shocked until now. The shockwaves are still reverberating, I think, in South Africa.
True. And I think this book offers us a lot of food for thought.
Yes.
Who is shocking us? And are they shocking us for the better or worse?
Absolutely.
And I think she also tries to show us the complicitness of multinational corporations, foreign interests, and your state.
Yes.
You know, how those three are working together, or two working together, to influence the society we currently live in.
Absolutely.
So just food for thought. Cui bono. Who is benefiting from your disaster, the coup, the different situations and situations that are happening?
And are they organic or are they organized?
And are they planned?
You know, as you said that, I got an idea. And I think someone is actually waiting for this economy to crash.
The Kenyan economy.
The Kenyan economy to crash. And there's talk of a recession that's going to happen. So I'm thinking maybe it is time we start privatizing a little bit of government. So
but that is what the shockers want, don't they?
Yes.
And remember,
it's win-win for everybody.
Wasn't it yesterday, or I mean on Friday, when you mentioned that there could be some electric shock currents in our national carrier, KQ?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And you actually, what you do is bastardize what you call the gospel. You bastardize an entire asset so that you're able to buy it.
We hope that this has sparked some conversation in your household as much as it has on this table. On a day where we had a winning cartoon from the Star and a winning headline from the Daily Nation. Please kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd love to hear your comments as well. And we are also on TV, so do search for us. We're on Pang Free to Air, Star Times, and GoTV.
Absolutely.
Have a good evening and see you tomorrow.